Welcome to Season 2 of Outstanding Women Leaders, Witty and Wise Conversations. I'm your host, Katie L. Eades, leadership and relationship coach by day, comedian and writer by night. I'm on a mission to host 100 million witty and wise conversations that disrupt the way leaders think and the way the world lives in relationship to each other. It's time to start connecting our left and right brain to our loving hearts and start listening to what they have to say. The brain will want to continue on the path previously traveled. It feels safe there. The heart barely has a path to follow, allowing passion and purpose to dictate the way. Get ready to disrupt business as usual in your brain and get ready to start following your heart. Listen, it's calling for you. My heart is always calling for me to dance in conversation, to feel the rhythm and bright vibrations of the ebbs and flows as we exchange energies, wit, and wisdom. My brain is interjecting really quickly, though, to invite you to check out owlprofessionalcoaching.com/podcast for more episodes and to head over to Apple Podcasts or Podbean and write us a quick review. Or find me on the gram and we're on Facebook. It's at Owl Professional Coaching or Outstanding Women Leaders. But enough about that. We have 4 rules today to guide our wit and wisdom exchange. These rules are inspired by the Coactive Training Institute to help create space for powerful connection and authenticity. Rule number 1, nobody gets to be wrong. Rule number 2, nobody gets to be right. Rule number 3, everybody gets to be vulnerable. And apparently my voice can go out as well. And rule number 4, everything is included, including my voice cracking. If your child walks in, your phone rings, it's included in the podcast. We do not edit here. This conversation is exactly what it needs to be in this moment in time. We've asked our guests to join us via video to allow us to create authentic connection. Eyes are the window to the soul. You will be seen here. You will be heard. There is space for you. When this conversation comes to a close, I'm going to ask our guests 3 questions. If you've tuned in before, you know what they are. If you haven't, you don't want to miss them, so stay tuned. But enough about me. Today, we're going to dance in conversation with an outstanding woman leader, Lindsay Roberts. Lindsay spent 2/3 of her life battling chronic migraines, but something clicked after her immersion at, I cannot say, Ballymaloe Cookery School in Ireland. Of course, the Irish get me today. She learned that foods in their most natural form were healing for the body, as well as a positive mindset. As she gained a deeper understanding of our food system, she could no longer support a food system that contributed to people feeling ill. Good food helped Lindsay to feel healthy, and naturally she gravitated towards that good feeling. Sorry, and enjoying her time in the kitchen. Lindsay's journey led her far from her 5th grade teaching position in California. She found herself earning a master's from the University of Gastronomic Sciences in Italy, working for Jamie Oliver and teaching food science in the classroom. This experience has taught her there's something magical that happens when we gather and break bread with others. We look into each other's eyes, connect, share stories, cultures, and traditions. But most of all, we have fun. We celebrate and feel joy. Lindsay believes having fun in the kitchen with good food is one way to take good care of yourself and our food system. Today, Lindsay teaches adults as well as kids and teens how to learn to cook real food and live life without restriction, while having fun in the process and helping you become your own wellness expert. I don't know what's going on with my voice. I'm totally fine.
Do you have some water near?
I do. Welcome, Lindsay. I'm so excited to have you here today. I'm so excited I'm going through puberty because, of your...
Don't worry, it happens. Thank you for asking me to join you today. And thank you for reading my bio. I've done quite a lot, and a lot of it happened while I had really severe migraines that I felt at the time were controlling my life. And funnily enough, going to Ballymaloe Cookery School in Ireland really just changed the trajectory of my life and really made me realize how important the food system, the food, nutrition, and diet really quantified what I perceive as a healthy life. And prior to going there, I thought that I was an amazing cook and knew how to eat healthy. And really immersing myself into that lifestyle. It was a cooking school built on a 100-acre organic farm. So all the produce gathered, I shouldn't say all, but let's say about, 80, 90% was grown on the farm, delivered to the cooking school kitchens in the morning. They had Jersey cows, and you'd have freshly milked milk from the Jersey cows to pour into your coffee and tea each day. I'd never seen like the cream floating on raw milk, so, it just really opened my eyes to what health could be, yeah. And it just made me realize how much I wanted to really focus on food, because I was a fifth grade teacher at that point, and I realized I could maybe be a culinary teacher or do something food education related. I wasn't quite sure at the time what it would be, but that just set the wheels in motion for me to, go back home to California, living in the San Francisco Bay Area, full of wonderful food, but realizing I needed to learn more. It really stoked me to figure out what that more was.
And I love that more for you was a journey to Italy to study with Jamie Oliver, which if you don't know who he is, tell us a little bit about your experience. I have questions.
Yeah. About Jamie Oliver or about Italy, or both?
Both. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that, we're going to talk about intuition and following your intuition with food and cooking in our workshop in a few weeks. But I felt this calling in my intuition to go to Italy back in 2008 when I returned from Ballymaloe. But I had severe migraines at that point, so I really wasn't fully paying attention to my intuition. It would kind of ebb and flow. And when I was feeling great, it sounded like an amazing opportunity. When I was having, a headache that lasted 10 days or 2 weeks, it just kind of went to the wayside. So it took 4 attempts at being admitted to the university from 2008 to 2014 for me to finally say yes. So it was something like I knew I had to do, but I just always told myself like, it's too much money. It's not what I should be doing. What am I going to do with this degree? All those negative kind of victim statements that you tell yourself. So back in 2014, it just all fell together, and it was like, I must do this. And it just came together in a matter of weeks. It was like a movie. I had that Friday interviewed for a culinary teaching role at a high school, and it was one of the best interviews I've ever had, and amazing support and like all the money I could ever want. And it was also running a program that gave community college credits. So it was like really high level teaching. And then that Saturday, I sat at home thinking, what are all my dreams, that I want to do? And I remembered, oh yeah, there's that school in Italy, and sent them an email saying, I know you have a November start class or course for the master's. Do you by chance have any space available? I've been admitted 3 times before. And to my surprise, at 10 a.m. on Monday morning, California time, I got an email saying, we have a space reserved for you. Send in your €1,000 deposit by tomorrow. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And like, I instantly knew like I should do this, but I'm like, this is crazy. And I just had this great interview, and so I gave myself 2 hours because I knew all my references were being called. And I also knew I was the only person interviewed. So I knew I was getting the job. And I gave myself till 12 noon to see if it really still felt right 2 hours later. And it did. And I called up the high school and spoke to the principal. And I said, I can't believe this just happened. But this is a dream of mine. And she said, you have to go to Italy. So that was confirmation, have to go to Italy. So so I went and had the most amazing year of my life. And And it wasn't necessarily studying cooking. They do have a culinary school there. It was studying the whole food system, you know, from the health of the soil to sensory tasting for wines and cheeses and honeys and chocolate, and cooking just naturally fell into the mix by all these field trips and cooking with my Italian friends and things. So my whole life kind of changed that year. And, you know, and that's where I feel like the pleasure and following the intuition, like really, I more so honed in on that. Did you want to say something? I just spoke for a really long time, Katie.
No, I loved hearing your story. I love hearing how you made that decision in 2 hours.
It was crazy.
Do I go to Italy or do I take this high-paying dream job I've always wanted? And I think that happens for a lot of us, where we all of a sudden are handed everything we've ever wanted. And in that moment, there's some clarity of, well, there's also this other thing I really, really wanted.
Yeah.
And the universe just said, okay, pick.
Yeah, I mean, either would have been good, but I knew the school role was in my hometown, so it would have been moving 2 hours back from where I was living in the Bay Area to my hometown to be near family, which is fine. But I just felt like this is like Lindsay being small, just doing what's comfortable. Yeah, there would be some stretch with the actual role, you know, and learning involved, but you know, it was like, I'll always regret not going to Italy. I don't own a home. I had just broken up with a boyfriend. And that was a really devastating breakup of someone I thought I was going to marry. So it was like, okay, what do I have to lose? All my friends and family.
Love. Go
Yes.
to Italy.
Except I went to Ireland, India, then Italy. So my order of countries is a little different, but yes.
No, everybody travels their own path. So I love this. So you go to Italy and you take this huge leap of faith. And you get to work with a pretty renowned person. I mean, he's got his own show. I don't really know how renowned he is, but he's got his own show. And I love the work that he's doing in the food industry and what he's trying to do, particularly for children's food in the public school system.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that was following my master's. I came to London, where I am now, still living, and worked with Jamie Oliver's Food Foundation for a while. And yeah, it was a really amazing experience to see, you know, what he's doing in schools and just as an organization himself. And I mean, he has a big team working for him, but obviously he has like just so much drive, and I mean, there's just so much going on, you know, the TV production, the cookbooks, the school foundation, it's like almost not even fathomable, all the people and all the wheels in motion. And there was a magazine. I don't know if there's still a magazine. So yeah, it was really fun to be part of that whole mix and just see how somebody grew from, you know, a little chef in a pub, basically, to creating this empire. And it still felt somewhat authentic. And, you know, like the restaurant 15, which is where they were training the troubled youth, basically, was just a few steps away from where I was working. So it was all just right there, like this big hub of, you know, activity. And then during that time too, I also worked with Google to do a lot of team builds. So that was really fun. And I met the head of food for Google London, and have kept in touch with him and done a couple things. And he actually really supported me in my last role, where I was running a culinary school in an all-girls primary school. And it was a for-profit venture, part teaching, part community cooking school. So that was really nice when I reached out to him in the last year and a half or so. And Google has since built cooking schools as well. And they have a bunch of Jamie Oliver employees, you know. So maybe not right now with COVID, but prior to COVID, they had.
I've eaten at Google in the US. I have to say, they've got a hell of a kitchen. Yeah. I had the pleasure of taking some teen interns there for a workshop. And I mean, I was a little impressed, I have to say. I think I ate like 10 different meals. I was like, I have to try all this food.
Yes. Yeah, they're doing some really great things with food, and really working to, employees that want to take cooking classes and learn more about cooking and nutrition and things, they have resources for them, which is really great. I wish every employer would have access to things like that, because there's a real need.
Absolutely. When I owned the gym, we were just getting into my last couple days there. I'd worked on a deal with a local hospital to help get more of the nutrition and healthy eating habits in their employees as well. So I want to go back because I didn't get a chance to ask you a little bit about your migraine journey.
Yeah.
You mentioned that I pulled you away from doing things before. So for you, was it the food and changing the diet that has cleared up your migraines, or what has been that secret magic sauce for you?
Well, I want to say, I think the secret magic sauce is different for everyone. I think there's a mix of things to put into the pot, and then everyone has to kind of take what resonates with them. So I had the headaches from age 12 to age 35. And initially they were really bad, like 24 hours a day for the first 5 years. Like I never didn't have a migraine. I don't know how I functioned. And then from age 17 to like early 20s, they lessened to say like 3 or 4 times a week. And then they further reduced. So when I was 17, I made the connection at the time that corn syrup and all corn products contributed to my migraine. So when I eliminated those, I reduced the number of headaches. But I want to preface this by saying, I believe pain is a messenger to help you find your spiritual path. So that could be shoulder pain for somebody, back pain, and it can pop up at any time in your life. It could be something that you have for decades or months or a week, like there's a message in that pain. And for me, it was really trusting my intuition, understanding self-love, and also delving into early childhood trauma, which I didn't know all of that till more recently, as all the pieces of the puzzle kind of came together. So initially I thought it was just corn, ate very healthy diet, really focused on the diet piece, and really also believed in fully in Western medicine, and my neurologist knows the answer and knows which medication to give me. And I had the belief like something is fundamentally wrong with me. Like I have some misalignment, some problem somewhere in my brain, in my nerves, like who knows what, it was always changing. But this belief like something was wrong with me and I couldn't fix it. Like I was reliant on someone else telling me. And in the 1990s, early 2000s, the internet wasn't what it is today. I did do research that I could, but it was mostly just going to the doctor and asking, do you have something new for me? So that was kind of how I first delved into the headaches and, finding what worked for me. Going to Ballymaloe was kind of eye-opening to the diet piece. And initially I thought diet really did heal me and cure me. My migraines greatly reduced. Let's say I had one maybe once a month or something. So that to me felt cured compared to like daily as they were at one point. And at that time too, I was, trying alternative things and doing meditation and yoga and trying to get proper sleep. But it really felt like it was a full-time job to stay migraine free. Like I had this whole list of like, oh, did I have enough protein to eat with this meal? Always like so concerned with, do I have a healthy snack in my bag? Like actually creating lots of fear and worry around food too. Like there's so much going on. It's hard to like say it succinctly.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the way you called it a full-time job, and like really that that's why people don't stick with things. That's why people don't resonate long term. And I think of so many people I know that when I own the CrossFit gym, if you know anything about people in CrossFit gyms, we're not like retro fitness where there's a judgment-free zone. Like,
Yeah.
we sit a little bit in that judgment and judge how you eat is wrong and as a source of what's wrong. And it was nice to step outside of that for a little while and look at people, someone like you who ran a full-time job, keeping their migraines under control and still had them from time
Yes.
to time.
And also at that point in like the 2011-ish, like I was in an admin role at a county office of education running garden nutrition education. So there was also that, like I did have a full-time job in addition to trying to stay migraine free. And sometimes it just felt like too much. And, but I will say, like at that point in my life, I felt like things were mostly under control, despite it being a lot of work. It was a lot of work to maintain migraine free or be somewhat headache free. And then in 2014, like late spring, I had a breakup with my ex-boyfriend, and he and I had been friends for 13 years prior to dating. We had known each other from college. And that breakup, I can't say exactly the day, like I don't remember exactly the time. It was a very stressful time. So I can't say like the breakup happened and the headaches got worse that day. I think it was a bit before that. But anyways, at that point, or around that time, my migraines regressed to how they were when I was 12 years old, like worse, like level 10, moment wake up, moment go to bed, like no relief. Take a migraine drug, it lowers it slightly. I was also down to only being able to tolerate 10 foods. Like they were all healthy foods, pinto beans and salmon and cauliflower, many foods that I couldn't eat until recently because I had to eat so much of them. Like food was absolutely disgusting to me. It was only a way to survive. Literally, like even the tiniest little addition to something, I would have a huge reaction. And my body was just so reactive at that point. And so I knew there was something else, didn't know what it was. And I knew like deep down there was some like emotional connection. Couldn't really quite figure out what it was. Didn't know like who I needed to speak to. But Dr. Lissa Rankin wrote a book, Mind Over Medicine. And she talks about like healing yourself, but she doesn't really get into specifics. So I read it, but it wasn't like, here's a checklist, do this. It was a bit more broad. So I had gone to her website and she had a medical conference. I think it's called like whole health holistic. I don't know. I'll have to look what it is, but anyways, Dr. Lissa Rankin, and I think it's Whole Health Holistic Medical Institute or something like that. And it's mainly for doctors and nurses and practitioners who work with people that want to, heal of various anything. It could be cancer, it could be headaches, it could be, I don't know, whatever, so she had this conference and in San Francisco in July. And in May, I got an email in my inbox. And I think it was like $2,000. It was really expensive. And I just said, and at this point, I'd probably spent $100,000 of my own money in my adult life trying to heal migraine. One of the reasons I went to India was to work with an Ayurvedic doctor who specialized in migraines. So, I had kind of tried everything, in my opinion. And so I went to her conference. I just knew like, okay, this is the sign, I have to go. And I have to learn whatever she's teaching these doctors because I'm tired of paying money for treatment and care. And and she had all these well-known people there like Martha Beck and just really amazing spiritual and, people that just really get this healing aspect. So during that conference, I learned that these doctors and practitioners can't really heal their patients until they have healed their own traumas. And one of the activities was to write down like every trauma you've ever experienced in your life. Doesn't mean you need to heal from each one. You know, everyone's different. And then I just realized, wow, there's a lot of stuff here. And then they talked about the significance of stuff that happens in utero and ages 0 to 7, when you're just basically recording everything that happens to you, or sorry, that happens in front of you, like from your family. And, you know, you're too little to have opinions and say, and you just really develop your personality based on what is around you. So that's when I realized, wow, there's a lot here, starting with my own traumatic birth, because I was premature and put in the NICU for 12 days, and I wasn't held until I was 10 days old. So there was like so much pain and trauma. And I was born with forceps, and I have some neck pain sometimes that is related to the migraines. And yeah, so all the little pieces started coming together.
Wow. So you go, this makes, I love it. Can't wait to talk about your upcoming conference too, because I can see where that really ties into wanting to help people. So
Yeah.
it's so interesting to hear you talk about some of your pain being related to birth, like how, and how when we're a medical mystery, that there's a place that some medical people are going to look to solve. So what was next for you on that journey?
Yeah. Well, I learned a lot and started applying some things from that conference. And then one of the things recommended was Somatic Experiencing. And I did work with somebody. I found somebody local to work with, and I found this really great guy. And that's where you work with somebody who's specially trained, and they help release this stuck energy from your body. So they might use like some Gestalt type therapy questions. Like everyone's a little bit different, in my opinion. And they prod you to figure out, you know, like where it's being held in the body, what's its message, what age were you. It's all to get to your inner child, you know. So some people might do that therapy for, you know, years. But the person that I saw had like a very fast therapy. Like he generally saw people in about 3 months' time, and they moved on with their lives. And I was telling him that I wanted to do it faster. Like I was ready. So I think I did everything with him in about 6 weeks, and we did like 2 sessions a week. It was really intense, really emotional, like crazy, you know, but in a good way. And I was able to release like so much stuck energy in my neck, in my skull, all over my body, you know. Like I had a fever seizure when I was 3, and I was holding like tension and stress there. And I didn't know until I was an adult, but like that was a reoccurring nightmare for me as a child for many years. Didn't make sense, you know, like all these pieces of the puzzle just slowly started making sense. So that was like the big catalyst for me, that somatic experiencing. It was worth it 100%. And I felt like $1 million after that, you know, just letting go of all that stuff. And then following that was me being offered the teaching job or Italy, you know, so it just kind of like all fell into place over about 2 months' time. And then I was able to kind of move on with my life. And
so have you had any migraines since?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie and say I never get one, because that would not be true. But I would say I get one or two a year. And, you know, for the first time in my life, well, I can also try to do a lot of natural things and maybe go out in nature. I don't jump to taking medication any longer. And I try to catch it very early, you know. Maybe I need a bath. Maybe there's check in with my emotion. Did I have a fight with my husband? Is something bothering me? Like I go that route first. And then I do have medication that I might take if I absolutely have to. But for the first time in my life, each year I generally throw it out. You know, like it expires and I throw it out, which is a brand new thing for me. Well, you know, 6 years old for me now, but it still feels brand new to throw out migraine medication that was like had a currency greater than gold at one point, you know, because it was, you know, like $300 for 9 pills or something. So yeah, that's kind
Where
of
are you at with food? Do you still notice that some food causes or can trigger? Do you still avoid certain things?
yeah, I mean, again, it's checking in with your emotions. Like for instance, chocolate and sugar. I love chocolate. I mean, I
It's
love dark
delicious.
chocolate, but I do have to be mindful of my emotions and am I stressed? And sometimes I'll have a brownie or a chocolate piece of cake and I will start to feel the headache coming on from that massive sugar load. So I tend to go more so for like a dark piece of chocolate and try to have some limits. I do follow a diet that I feel works for me, but I'm not so strict anymore. I feel like that need to control everything is gone. I used to be paranoid with, do I have enough, like if I left the house or went away for the day or something, like, do I have enough food with me? Like now I just feel like I will always find something to eat that's healthy and safe. And, maybe that if I don't have it in my purse, maybe it's an apple or some nuts or like I can always find that. It's not that ongoing stress. And what else? For diet, like that's where like Ballymaloo kind of changed my life with really focusing on local and seasonal and fresh and organic. You can't always have that, but like I do choose to purchase most foods that way. But I'm real too. When I go out to eat, rarely are you getting that kind of food.
Yeah.
um,
It's such an incredible story to hear. I resonate so much with the food, like not being strict anymore. And like, but to see that you're feeling better as you're loosening up control actually over some of those foods and just listening to what your gut is telling you or what you
yeah. I mean, that's where your intuition comes in, because if you're really listening, you will hear what you should eat, what's the right amount. And I think because this whole journey helped me gravitate more towards the healthy diet. I think like I prefer those foods now.
Yeah.
And I still do avoid all corn. I don't have that at all in my diet. I do know if I chose, I could do, it's not an allergy, it's an intolerance. I do know if I chose, I could do some more like mental work. I'm not saying I know exactly what it is, but there's like emotional freedom technique, which is like tapping, and there's other things that you can do if you're having reactions to food. So I could do that, but honestly, I'm not interested, because eliminating corn actually, like my sister says, she wishes she had my intolerance, because it really has forced me to choose healthier foods. It's in all the canned soups and a lot of the frozen food, and being in the UK, they call it corn flour. It's in so many things. So in that sense, because it keeps me healthier with my food choices, I'm not interested in clearing it, but I possibly could.
Interesting. Yeah. I feel that way about dairy, and I have taken an allergy test, a blood allergy test, because there are different ones, and the blood allergy said you're fine. And so I had a wild night in 2019. Wild couple days of dairy. My body was like, bitch, what are you thinking? It took me about a month or a half, maybe 2 months before my body sort of readjusted. So I'm like, all right, I hear you. I won't have dairy. And personally, I think I don't want to explore that because it keeps me out of the cheese.
Yeah, I
I
hear you.
lost 60 pounds. I part of having to give up some of the foods became easier because I realized it made me feel like shit. But my gray area I have found with bread is like Cuban toast. I have no issue with it. So Cubans, whatever you're doing over there, making your toast, I'm all about it for my breakfast. And then there's some breads that do bother me, and it's probably more linked to soy. But it's just interesting to hear about energy releasing and how that has impacted even your ability to tolerate a migraine. So very interesting. I would love to know a little bit more about your intuition and what it's calling you to do today.
Yeah.
You've got some cool projects coming up. I happen to be lucky enough to be one of them. So let's hear about where people can find you, what you're putting together, what's cooking in Lindsay's kitchen. God,
Well, I'm on Instagram, and my website is Mind Body Kitchens, and kitchens is plural, mindbodykitchens.com. And you can find me there with lots of recipes and posts. And I'm offering a variety of classes for kids and teens and adults that are really interested in this. It's a lifestyle. Like, I feel it's a healthy, reasonable lifestyle. And I love teaching, people that are interested, just like some really basic food prep and how to follow your intuition. And, cooking can be fun and really easy and simple. And that's something that I learned in Italy. Like, some of the best foods are some of the simplest things, and just knowing some techniques and can make eating healthy fun and delicious.
I love that. And if you're a mom listening, I think helping your kids develop their intuition and their eating habits is something that we all think about. I don't have kids yet, but I know when I owned a gym that I was thinking about it, and I was like, these are bad habits, these are good habits, versus this is your intuition. And I'll tell you what, when my intuition caught me in the closet eating donuts, when I took a reflection of that, it was divorce or donuts. And I was tired of eating donuts. So it's a great opportunity for classes for parents and kids to learn how to tap into their intuition and cook some healthy food.
Absolutely. And I also consult with schools that want to set up healthy eating programs and do team building, kind of for corporations. So there's a whole mixture of things that I specialize in. And so I think, and there's also going to be some like wellness retreat type things, like downloadable retreats, and you can do with your family. And lastly, I'm putting together it's called Rise Above Chronic Pain. I'm putting together like a webinar / conference for people that are interested in healing themselves from chronic pain, whatever it might be, to kind of get a jump start. Because like I said, it took 23 years to figure out the puzzle. It was, very time consuming. And I would just love to provide a place for people that might be having some sort of issue with chronic pain. Just, here are some things that you can delve into, whatever resonates with you, and that might give you a little jump start in leading, your best life.
I love what you're doing for this space for people with chronic pain and shedding a light on a place that no one really talks about right now. So
yeah,
so much. We're also hosting a workshop together, the Intuitive Table, and talking about tapping into your intuition. And that will be held on Sunday, December 13th from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern time. You can catch the link will be on the link tree under workshops. You can also get Lindsay's website. She'll be featured as the Owl of the Week as you hear this episode. And sign up for a workshop, work on that intuition and what you're eating. And also how to tap that into for your kids and their intuition as well. I picture a lot of really great packages that people could be purchasing as a family, because everyone's shopping small now. So as you're listening to this, being thankful for small businesses that are still trying to make it in a pandemic, it's a great opportunity to support your family and support small business. And so that workshop is $79, I think, but we're going to run a huge coupon sale. And so you'll have an opportunity to take advantage of that if you're listening to this right now on Black Friday. If you missed out, we'll host one again. Before we go today, I have 3 questions I always ask. My first one is, what is your superpower?
So many, hard to choose one, but I think one of my superpowers is kind of being that big picture thinker, coming up with the idea and then implementing it from idea to fruition. I find that whole process a lot of fun.
Yes, and you need that if you're going to make good meals.
Yeah, and it's part of cooking, So I have learned so much in the last 12 years. And like, while I write recipes that do work because I was a food science teacher and I'm very meticulous, like, I just go into my kitchen every day and open the fridge and see what I feel like, see what seasonal produce I need to use up. And, I really do practice following that intuition. And then seeing that whole process, from conception to to plate.
Love that. I love that. What's your purpose?
Well, I think my purpose is to empower other people to find their intuition and to find joy and pleasure in food, however that might be, and all ages, really, because I love working with all the different ages. Where I was running the cooking school, the youngest students were age 3, because you do start school at age 3 in England, which is crazy, like proper school. And yeah, so that was really fun to teach the little teeny tiny ones.
Just picturing little teeny tiny British accents running around, bossing me, telling me. I love it.
It was very cute. My family tells me I picked up a bit of a British accent, and teaching was very challenging because someone would say tomato and I'd say tomato and then I'd say tomato. And like, I was driving my brain crazy because I would mix the English, proper English, and American English all the time.
So I totally see you with your purpose, empowering people to find their intuition, finding pleasure again in eating food. It's so important. One more bonus question that I'm going to ask. I'm going to ask 4 questions.
Okay.
What's next for you?
Well, really creating this, using my website to create more of a profitable online business, because I've been getting my feet wet. 2020 has been about discovering what it's like to do something on my own outside of a culinary school that was not my own. So really delving into that full force. And in the future, after COVID, I see myself doing wellness retreats, whether they're for families or individuals or people with chronic pain, or maybe all that. I'm not certain. But I really like the whole wellness retreat atmosphere. And I think it's perfectly conducive to learning new approaches to food and really walking away with some real life skills that you will apply after the week or weekend, however long you spend.
I love that. I can't wait to participate in something like
that.
that.
Yes, that would be wonderful.
Finally travel again. Last question. The year 2020 was challenging. What is it that you found that you're willing to take a stand for, no matter what?
Gosh, what is it? I think, I could go many different ways, but I hate seeing child poverty, and I hate seeing, people treated poorly. I feel like now, being 41 years old, I will take a stand and speak up for myself, set boundaries, speak up for myself. And when I see things happening that don't seem right, being that teacher, that like mother figure that, is looking out for other people, I think is truly who I am and what I practice with my students.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I also just see you really taking a stand in your life for recovery as being an option. That sounds a little cliche. I just had to bring your own brain on recovery as an option for mental health. But I love that you have fought 23 years, to heal and to continue to seek answers and to continue to know that recovery has to be an option for you in the migraine world, that you don't have to just live this way. It takes a lot of dedication to say, I'm going to eliminate corn. Like, people don't realize that right now as they're sitting at home. Where like corn is hiding. It's just like a gluten or a soy. Soy is so hard for me to avoid because we put it in so many things and I have pretty sensitivity to that. So just, I love that you've taken a stand for that so you can help others with your purpose to take a stand for that as well. Thank you so much for sharing your superpowers with us.
You're welcome.
I'm excited to see what's next for you, including our workshop. If you're still listening and you've this far, it's Sunday, the 13th, 4 to 6 p.m. this December. We'll have another one, but sign up for this one so that you can use your intuition when you're eating Christmas cookies and not feeling bad about it. Last thing, I'll let you have the last word. What would you like to say?
What would I like to say? I had some thoughts before. I will say that the easier way is to just go to your doctor, take a pill, and just trust that that's the way to heal or to be migraine free or pain free. It was a hell of a lot of work, but so rewarding to gain back my life. Like in 2014, I felt like I started living again. Like I was not living most of my life, I was just surviving, and I'm still learning how to thrive. But it's fun now, and that's how life should be. You should be able to thrive, and it's possible. So if there's anyone out there that is truly really struggling, and they're ready, I'd be willing to work with people individually. But it's a process. It's a big process, but it is possible to live your best life.
Thank you so much. It's incredibly inspiring. And if you have been battling migraines for a long time, reach out to this woman if you're ready to make that leap. Thank you so much, Lindsay.
Thank you, Katie.